Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of my series on creating a procedural planet. This time we're going to actually create the procedural height map. And this is where things start to get interesting. So, first of all, just to show you, we want an example of a height map to look at and compare to ours. So I'm going to create a duplicate and then create a second material. You can create a duplicate material by clicking this little button, and you can see it adds a 0.001. It's a new material. And here I'm just going to uh, connect this to the output. Now, the main features I'm looking for is these continental shelves are going to be pretty hard lines, but not that varied. And then on these, in the oceans, we're going to have these plates, specifically these borders with these lines going through. Then, as these plates go through the shelves, for example, going this plate going up through here, you can see it will create mountains. So that's generally what we're looking for. So if I go back into here, go into our procedure planet and then our topography, I want to point out that a lot of these values I'm going to be showing you were kind of just me messing around until I got something I liked. So feel free to play with the values and see what you like. So first things first, I'm going to pull out a Voronoi texture. We talked about this when we made our ice. And basically, we are going to reuse this to create our tectonic plates. So we're going to adjust some of these. First, we want to put this to 4D, and that gives us this Y value, which basically means we can randomize things. For the scale, I'm going to set this to 1, so we can get some bigger plates. And for the roughness, set it to 1. And we want to create this instead of making these colors or this black and white, we want to switch everyone to distance to edge. And you can see it will show us how far this is from the boundaries. Now we're going to want to have access to these two values. So I'm going to create a value node and plug it and create a second one and plug those into the W and the scale. And then I'm going to go ahead and rename this to continent seed and continent scale, changing this back to 1 so that we get our look. So we of course don't want this to be these straight lines. So you can change this by messing with this vector node. So I'm going to input a noise texture, and if I plug this into the vector, you can see it messes everything up, or it makes everything a little squigglier. We can adjust this by changing the values. Which gives us closer to what we want. And we're going to want a little bit more control over this. So we're going to click this, Control T, that will create a mapping node. You do not need it into the detail. And we're going to add a vector math node. We want to add these two values. That way we can adjust things And for now, I'm going to set this to negative 0.18 and then this to 90. And this doesn't really do anything right now, but we're going to use this later to calculate holes and temperature. Now I'm going to select all of these, press Ctrl G to make a new node. And I'm going to call this node Procedural Height Map and put that under the label and the properties. Now we want access to these values. I'm going to play this over here, pull this back, and drag these into from the group input. Once again, changing the name of these inputs. Also pulling these into our parent group node. So now you can see we have access to this from outside. Now I'm going to quickly make this look a little nicer. I want to now create my oceans. So I'm going to add another frame for our oceans. So I'm going to just go ahead and create our ocean generation and then go through what each part does. All right, so now we've got our oceans created. As you can see, I am creating these lines with a small line going through it. Now I know it looks a little dark, but this is going to all be adjusted when I finish. So now I want to create our land. And to do this, we're going to adjust things slightly. We want our land to have its own noise texture. With its own values. We'll need to just change the scale. And then we're going to create a new Voronoi texture. And from this, we're going to get the color. But we want this to be a little smoother, so we're going to actually switch this to smooth at 1 and click normalize. And then adjusting the smoothness to 0.386. A mix color node. Set it to multiply. Plug in the Voronoi texture, the ocean's Voronoi texture, and make the factor a little bit more. So the reason we're doing this is we want to make the land lower as it gets further into the ocean. And then we're going to want a map range node and just change this to 0.5 and I forgot to change the roughness and changing this to 1, the detail. So this is our land currently. So of course, as you might guess, we want to add the land and the ocean. Let me just go ahead and frame this. But more than this, we're going to want the borders of the ocean to create mountains, along with the fissures disappearing. We don't want those fissures showing up. So I'm actually going to add another map range node, plugging the land into this one, and then I'm going to adjust the values. And then add 2 more multiplies, plug the map range into both of them. So if we now take a look at their edges, you can see where the continents would be. There, it gets brighter. So as opposed to, you can see the difference. We want to add and make this one an add. So we can see now that the fissures disappear on the land. So when I was figuring out what values to look at, what I wanted to do is create a kind of test. But first we want to be able to switch between these 2 height maps. So I'm going to create a mix node, plug our pre-made height map into one of those. Get rid of these, we don't need them anymore. And our procedural one into here. And then create a new value for our height map switch. And also plug that into here. So now you can see if we see the color, you can switch from Earth to our procedural height map. Now this is looking a little off. So what I did is create a color ramp node and set it to constant. And I want to change this, plug this also into there. And I wanted to kind of be able to compare the Earth versus the pre-made. So if I create a range of values, this is unnecessary for you to do, but I just want to show you how I got to these values. I got a pretty even range of distribution of these kinds of steps. And I want to match this to that. Now I could go in and fiddle around with every single value here, but that's pretty ineffective. So creating another color ramp, I'm going to just adjust the values like this one. So I'm going to speed through this and show you the values on the screen. So I felt like this distribution was fairly similar to this one. In terms of a lot of the ocean is this dark blue, then you have this step up, and then on the land it's mostly purple with a little bit of pink put in. You can mess around this more. Say, you don't see this, you want to create a higher ramp, so you can, maybe mess around with this. Try to get just that little bit of mountain peaks in yours, and that should be it. If I pull in the color, do the same for this one. You can change the temperature all you want. You can see it responds in a similar way. In our next video, we're going to adjust the poles to make them look a little bit more similar to what we might see in real life. So now I'm going to go through and clean everything up a bit more. Do this to your taste. I like making everything neat so I can understand it better. So now that we have so many values, I want to organize these a bit more. So a way of doing that is if you create a new input. Let's call this one landmass, then a couple more. And then change this to hide value. You can see it kind of creates a little title. So I'm also going to do this for these two. And now you can see here, it's a little clearer. Quick note, after recording, I went back into here. I didn't quite like how sharp these angles were compared to this. So I just moved this further down, right around 0.516. And as I said, these values are not set in stone. You can always adjust it to what you think looks good. So you could even change these colors. Once again, you can look at the height maps or height map test if you like. Just kind of get a similar proportion. And now going back to here, you can change your seed here. You can change your sea level. And you can change the scale of your continents. So as I said, in the next episode, we're going to be working on the biomes, making them a little bit more realistic. And perhaps if we get to it, we may put in a rain shadow effect. So I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.